So I would like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. We're meeting in a hybrid format with some of us here at Casco Bay and some online. I think that tonight we have Board Member Yusera Ali online, and Board Member Ali will be here momentarily. So Dr. Warren, will you please call the roll?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Member Ali. Member Yusra Ali.
Here.
Vice Chair Bondo.
Present.
Member Bryden.
Here.
Member Lena.
Present.
Member Noor.
Present.
Member Upperman.
Here.
Student Representative Fitzgerald.
Present.
Student Representative Kantiba. Student Representative Lee.
Here.
Student Representative O'Brien.
Present.
Student Representative Ziegler.
Here.
Chair Lentz.
Present. Thank you. And now the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqiyik or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy, or People of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms. As a reminder of our mission, the Portland Public Schools is responsible for ensuring a challenging, relevant, and joyful education that empowers every learner to make a difference in the world. We build relationships among families, educators, and the community to promote the healthy development and academic achievement of every learner. And our definition of equity. Equity is all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup. And now we're going to move on to public comment. So if there's anyone here that would like to give public comment, they can come up to the podium here in the room. Beautiful. It looks like we might have a couple, and we've got one online as well. So I'm just going to go through the reminders. Although most of you folks are here for all of the public. Is there anyone that is not involved with the union that's here to give public comment? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and bypass going through all the guidelines because I think you're very familiar. So go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Chair Lentz. We're here. My name is Carrie Dowdy, Portland Education Association. We're here to welcome the new members. Well, let me start with the high school reps. Welcome all of you. We're here to welcome Board Member Mylena and Board Member Ali. We look forward to, welcome back, Mickey Bondo. Sorry. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to give public comment? We have Student Representative Julie Kantiba on Zoom now. Great. Here she is. Beautiful. So I don't see any other public comment. So I'm going to go ahead and close it and move on to my remarks. I'll do a couple of things. First, last night was the State of the Schools address at City Council. That address is on our website now and also on the City Council website as well, if folks want to take a look at it. It was focused on the new strategic plan and also all the things that we're doing outstandingly as a district right now. So I would encourage you to look at that. I also want to just acknowledge all the end-of-year performances that are happening this week. Unfortunately, I'm in meetings almost every night, but I know that there are choirs and orchestras and all kinds of things taking place this week, and I'm just excited to hear how all the concerts go. I wanted to just offer my thoughts and condolences to Madison, Wisconsin, where we saw, unfortunately, another school shooting this week. Unfortunately, this is a normal thing in life these days. And I did want to just point out some resources on our website that are available to all families. Gun safety and making sure that guns are locked away is one way to really make an impact in the availability of the firearms that cause these shootings. So Dr. Scallon is just going to show us where on the website you can go to get more information. So if you go to the About page and then school safety, and then there is a promoting gun safety tab there, and you can get resources about how to talk to other families about whether or not they have a gun in their house and how it's stored, and just some other conversation starters and resources so that we can all do our part in helping our community stay safe. Thank you for that, Dr. Scallon. And then just wanted to acknowledge that this is the last board meeting of 2024, and we're going to be going into a little bit of a break, which I know is filled with holidays and celebrations for lots of people. We have Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all kinds of things. So I hope that you get to celebrate with your loved ones and friends, and also get rest and restoration throughout the end of this year so that we can come back ready to go in 2025. And with that, Caroline O'Brien, are you ready to give some remarks? Okay, beautiful. Yeah, you can do it right there from your desk. You just want to make sure your microphone is pulled down so we can all hear you.
Thank you, Chair Lentz. Chair Lentz, members of the board, and Superintendent Scallon. I belong to two high school communities, both Portland High School and here at Paths. I'm very proud to be the student representative for Portland Arts and Technology High School. We're almost halfway through the year, and the students at Paths have already accomplished so much. I'm starting off with a few statistics from the student body. Paths is starting the year at 435 students from 14 different sending schools. 1/3 of our students come from the Portland Public Schools District. Portland High School is our second highest sending school, with Gray New Gloucester in first. This fall, students and faculty at Paths have held a car show raising money for Skills USA. Skills USA is a career and technical student organization where students compete demonstrating the career and technical education skills at a state level, since we don't have sports. An example of this, for the education program, we'll create a lesson plan in a limited amount of time with certain parameters as to what materials we could use. Paths has raised close to $6,000 so far this year. In past, it has cost between $800 and $1,000 for a student to participate. This money is used to send kids from all or any of the programs. Horticulture, another program, is wrapping up their winter sale, raising money to support their program, to do things like restock seed inventory, program attire, and fund supply purchase. It is also a lesson in running a business. They make, market, and sell all their products under the supervision of their teacher. Paths is a career and technical education high school, but still provides so much for students planning to attend college, which I'm not sure is adequately recognized. It's important for potential students and their parents to understand that it's not an either-or situation. There is always further learning to be done in any career path. Many programs provide dual enrollment opportunities through several colleges. Currently, we are working with Central Maine Community College, Southern Maine Community College, and the University of Maine in Augusta. These are free college credits on an official college transcript. The student body is on track to earn a total of 544 credits this year. For example, in the Careers in Early Childhood Education program, Eva Rod is my instructor and an adjunct professor at SMCC. I'm earning 3 credits this year through the Southern Maine Community College. We also have a college fair this fall. Some of the schools we were visited by are Southern Maine Community College, Central Maine Community College, Maine College of Art and Design, University of Maine in Orono, University of Southern Maine, Maine Maritime Academy. We also had visits from Milton Cat Heavy Equipment and Portsmouth Naval Shipyard. These companies are looking at Paths students as to recruit new members for their workforce. As a career and technical education school, Paths, of course, has students gaining other certifications and credentials. In the food service program, students are passing their ServSafe exams. This is an industry certification students will need if they continue this occupation after high school. 17 out of 24, or 70.8%, have already completed that certification. In the B building, students are learning skills for mechanical and construction-oriented fields. These students are practicing for the end-of-year certifications through third-party sources. AWS, American Welding Society, is one of these that is providing an exam. This is a performance exam. In the Building A, these students are learning skills used in the service and performing arts fields. In the education program, second-year students are becoming BHP certified. BHP stands for Behavioral Health Professionals. Currently in the carpentry program, first-year students are working on their sheds. Second-year students have started their houses. These houses are built throughout the year. They are modular homes, then are sold for no profit, purely for the cost of materials. We have many students in fieldwork placements. These are second-year students in placements in the real field that they have been learning for. In the education program, for example, second-year students are volunteering in other real classrooms, both at preschool and elementary levels. Examples that other programs offer for placement are clinical placements and construction placements. We are gearing up for recruiting season to begin in January of 2025. Admin has gone and presented at 5 high schools so far. Students interested are given an appointment during which they'll spend that portion of the day, around 2.5 hours, in the program that they are interested in. Sometimes students have more than one visit if they're interested in multiple programs. Paths has a few new things coming in 2025. There will be a new program coming in the fall called Outdoor Education and Leadership. This program is designed to give students many outdoor experiences and expose students to many jobs in Maine's outdoor-oriented economy. This program shoots to encompass many skills that may be necessary for many outdoor occupations. Students from outdoor safety all the way to group management. Skills from outdoor safety all the way to group management and organization will be covered in this course. Paths is also collaborating with Association of General Contractors to provide a summer camp for Portland's high school age students. It will be held here at Paths, and you don't have to be enrolled in a Paths program to participate, though it is focused on students in Portland Public Schools. Lastly, as a school board representative, I am trying to build communication among my peers and make myself accessible. I have created a Google form to connect with Paths students, faculty, parents, or those from our sending schools. Hopefully, this would be an easy way to bring an issue to my attention. Paths students don't have many opportunities to connect across programs. This form would hopefully make that connection accessible, and anyone can submit a response. As you can see, Paths students and faculty have been hard at work this year. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions?
Oh, thank you so much, Student Representative O'Brien. What questions does the board have? Board Member Opperman, is that a question coming?
No, it's a comment.
Okay,
Well,
go ahead.
and maybe a question. Well done. Appreciate the information. It was full of information, which I feel strongly about Paths in that respect. That needs to have, people need to know what's going on. Do they still have a cybersecurity?
They do, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and we just heard last night there was a really great certificate that was accomplished by a student. I can't remember the name of the certificate because there's so many letters in it, but it's really cool. I'm curious, what is your favorite thing about being a student at Paths?
My favorite thing about being a student at Paths is probably the opportunity that it gives me that I wouldn't have at my high school normally. I get to work in a preschool every single day, and it's my favorite part of my day every day. I so enjoy learning from the preschoolers all the time, and my teachers are so wonderful and fulfilling, and I feel really fortunate to be able to have this opportunity.
Awesome, thank you. Other questions from the board? All right. Well, thank you very much for the time you put into that. That was a really great update. And now we've got superintendent remarks.
Good evening, everybody. Superintendent, that's me. Student Representative O'Brien, that was just an awesome job in the starting off. We always say this, but I hate following the students in it, but you just did a great job of capturing paths and setting a stage and a bar for the next presentation. So thank you for doing that. As Chair Lentz mentioned, it is the year of performances, and if you haven't, there are still opportunities to catch them as we are on Tuesday. So there's still a number of performances, including ones later this week. And so just encourage you to go out, even if you don't have a student performing, but to go listen. They're very impressive and very great times. One of them that's over but is just worth recognizing is the Addams Family musical that occurred on Friday and Saturday of this past week with our very own student representative Lee in one of the lead performances, and just an excellent job by him in that role. So congratulations on that. One of the things Chair Lentz last night shared out on the state of the schools and ran through both our strategic plan as well as a number of accomplishments and work that we've been doing over the last year. I'm not sure if it came up, but it is in the Press Herald today, and I would encourage everybody to look at it. One of the things that came out of Deering High School is the Reach My Teach platform, and just a great example of where a teacher and a student took a problem and developed a solution that is now being used at over 40 schools in Maine, across 9 states, and including one international school. And if you are a parent, a student, a staff member in Portland Public Schools, you know Reach My Teach because you receive communication in it. It is a platform that allows us to communicate with families that speak in different languages and across communities in a way that addresses a problem that before we didn't have a solution to. And so I just want to recognize Jeff Borland, the teacher at Deering, as well as Aiden Bloom Levine, who were the originators of that, and thank them for that work and what it's accomplished, which is both just a recognition of their creativity as well as what's happening in Portland Public Schools. And so just a thank you to them. I have one topic on which I am going to do a couple of slides tonight, just as the chair of our finance committee always says, it's budget season, but as we are truly moving into it, I just wanted to run through for everybody what is the budget process that we're looking at this year and dates so that you as committee members and the community have it. So just give me 1 second. So our budget process, similar to last year, includes opportunities for input at the department, school, and community level. What you can see here is a draft of our current calendar. Where there are asterisks is where there are opportunities for public comment on the official meetings. And what you will see is that everywhere where there is a school board, a business meeting, or committee meeting, there are opportunities for public comment. We really want to encourage the public to come out and join us in this conversation. The last meeting we had was on December 9th at the School of Finance. The next one is January 13th, where we have a School of Finance committee meeting. February 4th is the public forum on the budget. That is not the presentation of the proposed budget. That is the high-level overview of the budget process. On February 10th, we have a finance committee, and then on March 4th, is when the superintendent's fiscal year 26 budget presentation takes place. Just to highlight a couple of other key dates on there, we anticipate that the Finance Committee will vote on the proposed budget on March 24th, and that the school board will have its first public hearing and reading of the budget on April 1st, and the second hearing and reading of the budget on April 8th. And so that is when it will be voted on. They are not yet scheduled yet, but there will be what we anticipate 2 joint finance meetings with the city, and that the city council will vote in May on the budget. Again, dates to be determined, with the public referendum on June 10th. So wanted to make sure that everybody had these dates. We're circling them on your calendar and getting ready for them. Along with this, there are tons of opportunities outside of just those formal processes. This fall, there's been community sessions with myself as well as with the board holding community sessions, I believe, in all 5 of the districts as opportunities to hear from the community around priorities, including the budget. This spring, we will continue with community sessions that will have a particular focus on the budget. Those dates will come out shortly. And then I have started a series of sessions with PTOs where there is particular focus around high school for the future, but also opportunities to discuss the budget and other topics. And then just a last piece on this, just as we're going forward in the budget, just to remind everybody that this budget isn't starting from scratch. It's building off of work that happened this past year and should continue to center and ground itself in our strategic plan. And so there should be alignment there. And tonight we will actually be doing a workshop on that strategic plan as we have new board members and new student reps. So it seemed like a good opportunity to catch everybody back up on that. And then last is to make sure that there's alignment between the strategic plan and the budget. There are some future engagements that are particularly focused on that alignment. With the whole board, we have the strategic plan workshop this evening, and on February 1st, we have a retreat with the board. And during that retreat, part of what we'll be hopefully talking about is potentially some small adjustments to school year 25-26 initiatives, where we'll be able to use where we're at this year and what we've learned in this process to make some adjustments just to make sure that we continue to move as efficiently and effectively through our strategic plan. In the Finance Committee, there was conversation around specific topics that the Finance Committee wanted us to dive in on that are particularly budget focused, but have programmatic pieces as well. And so in the spirit of transparency, wanted to make sure that everybody had when those topics would be explored. They're not going to be 2-hour presentations, but if you think about them as 20-minute sort of exploratory pieces, on January 13th, so the first Finance Committee meeting after the break, we will be talking about crossing guards, what it would look like to expand CTE programming to middle schools, ESOL credentialing for staff, and this one just is worth a little bit of explaining. One of the Finance Committee members asked us to look back at the changes that happened from the fiscal year 24 budget to this year's budget to see if there were any changes that had unintended consequences or didn't sort of age well, where we should go back and potentially make adjustments. And so that's that 4th topic. On February 10th, we'll look at summer and after-school programming, what we're calling Volunteer Corps, or thinking about how do we leverage volunteers, and then the Make It Happen program. And specifically, the question was around what it would look like to have Make It Happen expand from a focus on multilingual students to multilingual students and students who are identified as low income. And then on March 10th, there will be updates around visual and performing arts and around ed tech positions. And so those are areas where we'll be doing a bit more engagement on with the Finance Committee. So I want to make sure that everybody had those. I'm happy to take any questions that may be for me or to welcome up Dr. Ahmed and the high school presentation. So Chair, I'll defer to you on which way you want to do that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take some questions now if there are any, and then we'll move along. Are there any questions from the board on that presentation? I would just like to flag that in the spring, I know the Public Affairs Committee will be talking about where our community engagement sessions are going to be, but just having all of us think about, like, are there ways that we could also just be in community more, and community centers or mosques or churches, or not just relying on our PTOs, which are great touch points, but also getting bigger than that to make sure that we're going to places that people are, so that it's easier for them to talk to us. Beautiful. Let me just double check Zoom We're good? Okay, beautiful. Okay, so now we can move on to our secondary schools update.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abdullahi Ahmed, and I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Secondary Schools, and I'm presenting to you tonight the Secondary Schools report. So in this report tonight, we will share with you some aspects of the strategic plan and how we are engaging the data we are collecting. And joining me today will be two of my colleagues, two assistant principals from Portland High School, Sarah Barrow and Caitlin Leclerc of Portland High School. And we will also talk about the process of high school preference as we are in this transition where the current eighth graders are selecting their high schools. So we'll talk about that process as well. So we are monitoring and responding to the chronic absenteeism and suspension data. A student is chronically absent if they miss about one or out of 10 days, if they miss 1 day, they're chronically absent. So it is 10% of the school days the student is considered to be chronically absent, whether it is excused or unexcused. This is the graph for this school year of chronic absenteeism so far. So we have months of September, October, and November. So as you see in the graph, our middle schools, about 21% of our middle schools were chronically absent on the month of September, while about 34% of our high schoolers were chronically absent for September. The numbers went down in the month of October to 16 and 30 for the middle and high schools, respectively. And for the month of November, the numbers unfortunately went up again. One explanation for why there is a spike or the numbers went up is that we see this drop of daily attendance rate of the high schools and one of the middle schools. On Tuesday before the Thanksgiving, as well as also the percent attendance also was appearing to have been trending down in the days leading to the Thanksgiving break. So tonight, as I said, I have Ms. Leclerc and Ms. Aubert to talk to us about how one of our high schools are engaging the data and responding and also preventing chronic absenteeism and also supporting students. So I will welcome Sarah and Caitlin to lead us here.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, and hello to everyone. I'm Caitlin Leclerc, one of the assistant principals at Portland High with my amazing partner, Sarah. Tonight, we're going to just talk about some of the strategies and interventions that we're putting into place at Portland High to address chronic absenteeism and suspensions. And what we've done, as you can see on this visual, is organized it into 3 different tiers, which I just will give a little bit of context to. I'm going to be speaking to Tier 1, which are universal supports that are designed to support all of the students at Portland High. And Sarah's going to speak to Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports and interventions. Tier 2 are aimed at a smaller group of students that have more specific needs. And our Tier 3 supports are highly individualized and far more intensive. And so I'll start with our Tier 1 efforts. We, at the beginning of the year, and I know Charlotte in her farewell address to the board, spoke a little bit about this, but launched our Bulldogs Show Up campaign, which is very much alive in the halls of Portland High. And we are making efforts to talk regularly with students about how we show up for ourselves, how we show up for each other, and how we show up as a community. We also have started this year to hold monthly class meetings, and the goal there is to continue to highlight the We Show Up messaging, but also to celebrate each other and to build community. In addition, we have been engaging students in advisory lessons that focus on school connection, again, attendance and building community, and also trying to really incorporate some fun and a little bit of healthy competition. We are excited this year about our efforts around recognizing and celebrating students. And so teachers and staff are recommending students that are showing up as exemplary Bulldogs, and we are trying to recognize and celebrate them, in addition to students who have had perfect attendance so far. And so to date, through our class meetings and just individual recognitions, we have recognized well over 100 students. And lastly, our organizational structure is intentionally designed to allow us as administrators and our teacher leaders to be able to build relationships with students. So Sarah and I both, as assistant principals, along with our teacher leaders, which includes our grade 9 teacher lead, and both of our culture and community coordinators are assigned to specific grade levels. And so it allows us in a very more manageable and intentional way, focus in and hone in on one grade level in building relationships with those students and implementing these interventions that we're talking about. And I'm going to hand it over to Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. So I'm Sarah Obari. I'm the other assistant principal with my great partner, I'll just say as well. So speaking about Tier 2 efforts, Tier 2 is really centered and focused around our student support team. That's made up by our school counselors, social workers, culture coordinators, and the 2 APs. We're focused on reviewing data regularly, both data that's given to us by our amazing data team this year, but specifically at Portland High, we're looking at absences by course. So, at the high school, we take attendance every day in every course that a student goes to, and we're looking at absences by course. We're trying to intervene when a student misses 1 or 2 classes in a particular course in a quarter, which is new for us. But we are using the missing 3 mark, where we're going to step in and create attendance plans and contracts with students. So we're conferencing with students and families, creating plans where they are identifying the barriers to why they might be having a hard time going, sometimes just to one particular class, looking at what supports they need, and then agreeing basically to a contract of how they're going to improve that attendance. Part of that attendance plan is that a member of that team, SST team, becomes the champion for that particular student, following up with that student, following up on the plan, and trying to keep that work moving forward. And the other amazing part of this work this year with the SST team is that we're partnering with our family engagement specialists. We've always partnered with them, but it's been more in an individual, not really a systematized way. We need a family meeting, or we notice a student struggling, and we'll, put in a ticket and we partner with them. But this is more about inviting family community specialists in to be part of our SST team, and to conference with students, to have them part of these meetings with families. And to also include them in celebrating when students are actually improving their attendance. So that's been really exciting. We focused primarily in working with Betsy and Todd in the first quarter around our Spanish-speaking students, but are really hoping to replicate that in quarter two with other languages. Tier 3, we are doing home visits to try to reach some of our students who have truancy or issues or have been truant maybe for a number of years, and trying to go into where they are and re-engage them back into school. Part of that work is thinking about barriers and the issues that might be happening and even getting them to come to school. Sometimes that's around work or other things that they need to be doing for their families. And so we're looking at creating, creative schedules, sometimes modified schedules, to re-engage them in their coursework at Portland High and to make individualized plans. One other thing that has been going on for a few years, but we're really continuing to develop is a partnership with Adult Ed. And we are working specifically on creating a pathway from Portland High School into adult education that doesn't require, again, an individualized counselor working with an individualized student, but more of a, what does this group of students who are going to age out of Portland High School need? And we have faculty from Portland Adult Ed that actually come into Portland High, meet with a group of students, do the planning, talk about what's this pathway looks like, organize the testing. So just making this pathway and celebrating this pathway. So having a ceremony at the end of the school year where students are transitioning from Portland High School into adult ed and really making this population seen and valued and supporting them in that transition. I think that's, thank you.
So it is crucial for students and families to make an informed decision when choosing high school. This time of the year is the time that seniors in our high schools are making selections for college and applications. Also, there are another transition for 80 graders, which is how to choose or what the schools they will be going to. So there are opportunities and platforms created for the families and students to really make informed selection as they go through this process. So there are open houses. There are also student-to-student engagement platforms where students will hear from other students, as well as also a multilingual high school preference night where these families will get information. So there are some important dates that are very important if you have 8th grader or if you are an 8th grade student. So on Friday, January 10th, distribution of the high school preference forms will take place. So there will be the students will receive Reach My Teach and their families. So we will have the forms will be alive. And also there will be a night of a multilingual high school preference for on Wednesday, January 22nd at King Middle School. On Friday, January 24th, the high school preference forms are due. And if you are Portland Public Schools student and family, you will receive this and Reach My Teach. And if you are non-PPS student or family, you can find the form at the website. A letter informing parents and students or guardians of their child's assignment will be sent no later than February 28th. There are also some important dates. These are the open house dates. So on Thursday, December 19th, Portland High School will have their open house. And in case of snow, there will be a January 13th. And Monday, January 6th will be Deering High School open house, 6 to 7:30. And in case of snow, it will be on January 7th. And Wednesday, January 8th, will be for Casco Bay High School. And in case of snow, it will be January 9th. So as I mentioned, giving the students and their families all opportunities and platforms to make informed decision is very important. So thanks to Make It Happen program, they arranged a student panel to engage 8th graders and in Portland Public Library, and I was lucky to join them and see the amount of engagement and how the 8th graders were listening to students who are from the high schools to learn more about the high school experiences and to make informed decision. So thanks to Make It Happen for the opportunity for our students. As I mentioned, multilingual high school preference night will happen on January 22nd at King Middle School. In that event, it will be for families who speak language other than English. There will be interpretation as well as support with the forms and how to fill the forms. And also thanks to multilingual team in advance for arranging this and organizing with the secondary school leaders. And with that, I conclude my report, and I would like to entertain if you have any questions for me or for the team, my colleagues here with me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the board? Board Member Aberman?
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Very, very excellent. I have a couple questions. When it says non-PPS students, is that just from the private schools in this, that students who are residents who are in the private schools, or is it also students who might be in another district that are choosing to come here?
The students who are residents of Portland Public School in Portland City.
Okay. And my other question is, what's SST stand for?
The Student Support Team.
Okay, thank you. And I was glad to hear that guidance is tied into Tier 2 of the situation. I was wondering, is it still that the 9th graders have just one guidance counselor at Portland High? Is that true?
Yeah, the model right now at Portland High School is one counselor for 9th grade, one for 10th grade, and then 11 and 12 is split between 3 different counselors.
And I was just wondering how involved they were in the Tier 1.
Yeah, I was going to say there are certain positions that actually probably span across all of 3 of these, and I would say school counselors are one of those. They really hold their entire caseload of student. Our 10th grade counselor, for example, was in classrooms all this week presenting information about 10th grade and being on track and what that means and lots of other things about opportunities, and that was done to the entire 10th grade, but in classrooms, so you can get more information and interact with that school counselor. So that's just an example of like Tier 1 and how they really reach across the whole class, but then they are heavily involved in the Tier 2 work and supporting students that are struggling as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Board Member Ali, did you have a question?
Yes, I had a question about the 2 other high school like open houses. So you stated that one of them is January 8th, and then if it's snow day, January 7th, 6th and 7th. So sometimes my question is sometimes like there are snow days that are multiple days, and if Monday and Wednesday of January 6th to 7th, and then 8th to 9th possibly have both snow days, what are you guys hoping for?
If there is a snow day for 2 days.
2 days consecutive, yeah.
Consecutive day. Yeah, I think we will schedule or reschedule for that event.
I'm going to come over here to Vice Chair Bondo quickly, and then we'll come back this way.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I have 3 questions here. The first one, I just need a clarification on the chronic absentees here on the increase during November. I just need the clarification, like I heard, and is the wrong. We saw the increase in November because of the daily attendance around Thanksgiving. Can you just
Yeah.
give
So,
me that?
as I said, it was not conclusive. But when I read to our data team, when we have seen that the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, the daily attendance percent of the daily attendance went down.
Just for the 1 week, just for 1 day.
For that day, it went down significantly, but the days before that also, it was trending down.
So the reason that we went up is because that's October, right? November we went up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in November, the 11/26 or November 26, that Tuesday, the percent daily attendance went down. And the days before that, also that Monday or that Friday before that, it was trending down. So there was, that was the lowest, that Tuesday was the lowest in the month of November.
So that's the reason then we have increased on the absenteeism.
According to the data team, it's not conclusive, so it is one of the explanations.
So if it's not conclusive, why are we bringing those results to us?
So can I jump in here? Yeah. So one of the things with chronic absenteeism, especially when you're early on and not through sort of 3/4 of the year, is it can be really sensitive to an absence where a day before a vacation day, for example, will throw it off because more students will be absent. And so if you're a student that in November we're at about 70 days, thereabouts, in the school year. And so if a student had 5 absences so far, and then is absent 2 days before Thanksgiving, it's going to tip them into chronic absenteeism. And so when you look at chronic absenteeism, especially early in the year, you often see this type of piece where it's really sensitive to days around holidays, to other types of pieces like this. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that we'd see this. The key thing is that what we see is that schools have varying strategies that they will use on days where they know that it is heavier absentee days, right? So you'll often see spirit weeks, other incentives that align with that to try to address it. It doesn't change that we do have families that will sometimes travel and be out for that whole week. And so I think what you're hearing from the secondary team is that this is certainly one of the factors, and it's not the factor that caused all 35% at the secondary level, but it would be some of the students that are dropping into chronic absenteeism here, that would be the cause.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Superintendent, for the explanation. So my second question is around the tier 1. I see the monthly class meeting. I just wonder if those monthly class meetings are mandatory or optional to the students, and as the percentage of participation in those meetings, and how students are responding to those meetings.
Thank you for the question. Though they're happening within the school day, and so they're expected to come. Our attendance has been really good, especially in comparison to last year. And I think it's how we're structuring the meetings and the recognition of students within the meeting, and having some fun and celebrating. And so far we've had a very positive launch to the year with our class meetings.
So those meetings, you guys are building different topics for each meeting. Students are leading the meetings, or you just leading by adults?
It's a combination of both. Our goal would be to, closer towards the end of the year, to have students taking more of the lead.
Okay.
But we do have some student presentations that are a part of the meeting as well.
Okay. Yeah, are we ready to have a student also taking the ownership on that? I think it's going to increase the participation and the engagement. For my last question is on the tier 2. I think you mentioned about the data around missing courses. Do you have any idea, maybe on the top of your head, which specific courses then you saw the increase of the aspect of missing? How many? Which one? Because if we see the data on the missing courses, we have some specific courses then we saw, then those are courses then a lot of students are missing.
Yeah,
I just want to have an idea if you have that.
I don't have an idea off the top of my head for specific names of courses, but I think one thing that does speak to what you're talking about is the different blocks of the day.
Okay.
So paying attention to what's our block one, like for example, block one attendance data, because, that's affected by just being on time for school, as well as you're already here, but you chose not to go to block 2. So it's a different problem. And I'd say, block 1 is one of those blocks that we tend to see more kids miss. And then we're paying attention to block 3 because it's after lunch and our kids coming back. That tends to be not a problem for us, which might be a surprise to people who know that we have open campus and kids can leave our building and then come back. But we haven't had as much of an issue with a block 3. Okay. And then because our schedule has changed this year and our advisory and win blocks in the middle of the day, we didn't know how that would impact block 4 at the end of the day, where students are maybe not used to attending that late in the day, but we haven't really seen that as much either. So I would say, unless you say something different, probably block 1 tends to be the one that we need to focus on. But we are paying attention to your question. So when we see a pattern of a particular course, then we're thinking about, what's happening there that we need to focus on. So we are paying attention to it. I just don't have a course to name.
I just want to emphasize that because it's so important. If they're missing some of those blocks, I mean, there is a reason, specific reason why. That's those whys, and I need to have some answers.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Board Member Lena?
My question was answered.
Oh, great. Perfect. Board Member Bryden?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for all the information. I have a couple questions about the chronic absenteeism part of the presentation. Going back a few moments to the part about how the data is so sensitive because it's just 3 months and it's the start of the year. I'm curious about whether you've looked at the trending over a longer period of time. I know chronic absenteeism has been a significant problem since COVID. And so I'm curious, I mean, obviously these numbers need to be better, but I'm curious how that compares to last year and the year before. Curious, like over time, and also September of this year versus September of last year and two Septembers ago. That sort of data, I think, would be really useful. I'm not sure, is that something that you folks look at?
We can look at them.
Okay.
But if you look at also in here, the dotted line on the top is where we ended up last year. 43% of our high schoolers were chronically absent. And in the middle, the 26% of our middle schoolers were also chronically absent at the end of last year, June. So still both high and middle schools did not.
So that's a comparison to all of last year.
All of last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for clarifying that. I'm interested in, and the answer might be no, but I'm interested in whether there are data captured distinctions that are essentially more than just excused and unexcused. Do you keep track of this kid was traveling or this kid was sick or those sorts of like next sub-level data?
Yes, and actually schools are looking into that, especially actually in September, where when the SSTs or school teams were following up, like what is happening? You are out 3 days, but it was 3 days before. the first 3 days of the start of school. So someone had longer summer, or those things were weeded out, and now the students are attending. But for the month of September, or even to some degree to October, that student may still be chronically absent because of the percent of the days that of the school days that they were out.
Okay.
But yeah, so some students get off the list because the days become more, and also, but other, yeah.
So I guess my follow-up to that is, so are there ways to, within the data that you have available, identify, oh, that person went on a big trip and they missed the first several days of the year, so we don't need to keep them on the list of kids that might need intervention?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Schools, and I worked with all principals that they were working on that, and they're making sure that they're calling, saying like, now we are back, not anymore. But there were some cases that was happened.
And then my last question is sort of somewhat related to that last part. So I'm curious about whether there are ways, and I heard a little bit of an allusion to this in terms of, identifying students that have had challenges with chronic absenteeism in prior years and making sure they're identified. But I'm curious about what mechanisms do you use to identify proactively who might need a tier 2 intervention before the data for this particular year indicates that, so that it's not about improving, it's about getting ahead of, and what do you need for support so that the pattern from last year doesn't occur this year, those sorts of proactive steps.
Yeah, so the tier 1 interventions that Caitlin mentioned are some of these mechanisms, like from rewarding students to also making sure that build that in small communities where there are adults who are aware of, and also the early warnings and knowing like if the student is absent for a few days, then the teacher calls home or someone calls home and trying to find out what is happening. So that early interventions actually are very useful.
Yeah, I'm curious whether there would ever be a way to say the student needs a call to the family before they've even missed 2 days, for example.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this might hit on what you're asking, that another thing that we do at Portland High School, for one, is partner with middle schools when you're talking about the 8-9 transition. And so a lot of that work is happening towards the end of this year, where assistant principals meet together, school counselors are meeting together, teachers give information to us so that we know the incoming class before they even get to us, and know the students that might have struggled with attendance in 8th grade and anticipate what are the systems we're putting in place, where do we put them in advisor. So we do a lot of that work, especially around the transition. And then because we work in grade level teams, then towards the end of the year, we're doing similar things with those grade level teams. You have a lot of people that follow kids. Assistant principals follow them through their 4 years. And so some of us go with that group, but you have a whole group of teachers that are new to those students. And we're meeting with those teachers. So it's a time for 10th grade teachers and the team to work with 11th graders, saying, here's who's coming to you, so that you have some of this information and can start some of this work right when they first arrive. Yeah.
Super. Yes. That's the type of thing I was hoping.
I was going to add quickly onto that this year, new for us was having students do an attendance plan. And so I knew that one of my current 11th graders really struggled last year. So starting Q1 with an attendance plan in place, that was new for us year and has been so far successful. So.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Thank you, Chair.
Board Member Opperman?
Just a follow-up, having experienced the frustration of students missing because it's cheaper to fly to Florida the week before February vacation or the week after February vacation. And, there are legitimate reasons for all that. That may be the only time. But one of the things that I don't think we touch on with these numbers is the fact that when they're not there, they're not learning. And that there is a whole pattern of makeup work that has to be done that this doesn't even reflect. I mean, and which is a burden to the student and an incredible burden to the teacher. And I think, and sometimes I don't think that's awareness. It's, oh, it's, you know, so my kid's absent. It's, nobody cares, but we care. And I think it isn't always the kid. I think that is my point with absentees. I've had my own experience. Student says, I have to do this. And I, you know, because my mom and dad said so. But anyway, it's just expressing myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Any student representatives have questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I have questions regarding the new schedule at Portland High School. You touched on it a little bit, but I'm curious how that has affected the attendance, especially in Block 1, considering there's no longer the buffer of advisory to help students that struggle to get to school on time, et cetera. And also, as a PATH student, WinMe now happens in the middle of the day, and so that time is no longer accessible to me to meet with teachers that can't meet before and after school, which I'm just curious how that is, would that impact a decision for maybe next year, considering the schedule?
Thank you. Is that a question or a comment?
How have the results of attendance under this new schedule would maybe affect a new one for the next year?
I'm not sure. I think we need to look more. We've looked at that data, and the attendance is actually better this year, and it could be better this year for a lot of reasons, right? We looked at lots of different iterations of schedules and obviously landed on this one this year. Our attendance in Win Block and Advisory is much better this year, having it in the middle of the day. Block 4 is impacted, because of early release and things like that. I think the paths piece is difficult just because the board's listening. We have different start times and end times at paths and Portland Public High Schools, partly because of start and end times and busing kids to these other places. But that makes it challenging in terms of finding a schedule where you're not missing class, but you still have all the opportunities that we want you to have at Portland. And this year it actually flipped where, I'm not going to say it right because I'm not going to think on my feet quick enough, but one of the groups, AM or PM PATH students, was able to participate in advisory and win last year. And then this year, because of our change, it's the other group that's not able to participate. So each year we're kind of faced with that challenge of how do we build something in a day where everybody gets access to it. I'm not sure I answered both of your questions, but.
Oh yeah, totally. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Okay, oh yeah, go ahead. Student Representative Lee, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And this will probably be a quick question, but I was just wondering about the open house slide. I just feel like physically getting to see a school can be such an important way to judge sort of the environment of that school, and obviously choosing a high school is such an important decision. And so I was just wondering about the strategies that we're using to properly publicize when those open houses are and information about them, especially for families that maybe don't have their ear to the ground as much about that type of thing.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good question. Actually, the middle school leaders or administrators, they're sending home Reach My Teach and communication. Also, it is on the website. There is also a letter coming or came from the secondary network team. Also, there are specific schools, they will reach out as well. So there is a lot of reach out. And what we are doing tonight actually is another thing as well. If you are watching and you have 8th grader, or if you are an 8th grade student, these are the open house nights. So it is so that's that engagements that we are trying to have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Beautiful. Yeah, Board Member Lena.
Just to follow up on the open house, are there opportunities during the school day for 8th graders to go visit the high schools and see the school in session?
No, not this year.
Thank you.
I just wanted to commend the Portland High School team. around your tiers, the language that you use, and the lens that you're bringing to it. It just came across very clearly that you are like excited about getting kids back to school, and I'm sure that that is translating to them in your work with them. So I think attendance can sometimes be like pretty punitive, and it can go that direction pretty quickly. And it's obvious that you're making choices to not get in that place. So just thank you for that work, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. All right. I think that's it for tonight. Thank you very much for your presentation, Dr. Ahmed. And we're going to move into the report of the secretary. But before we do, I did notice we have an educator here who came to give public comment, was running a little bit late. I would like to give the opportunity to that educator because we all run late sometimes, and we want to hear what you have to say. So you'll have 3 minutes.
I timed it. Hi, I'm Christine Worth. Sorry, it's my son's birthday, so I had to make dinner. I'm a pre-K teacher at Lyseth, and I've been teaching the district since 2011. Many of those years I was at Talbot. I came to Portland. Sorry, I'm going to read this as it goes, but we were beginning to build these programs, and I've watched them grow. So I feel a lot of pride in our Portland pre-Ks. And I also want to say there's a lot of people in this room that are invested, and every single one of my colleagues is running as fast as they possibly can. So any comment that I make, I just want to say I work with some amazing professionals. I just have some institutional knowledge I want to bring to this committee, and I have some suggestions. I'm a parent. Both of my children went to youth and family outreach in the public pre-K collaborative. So I am also very invested in the collaborations that we have in the city. And I've also had the opportunity to meet with 3 of the board members. So if something gets missed here, they've also heard my 2 cents. So I just want to be a voice for equity and parity between the community-based programs and the school-based programs. Now I'm at Lyseth, and I have the resources of a building sub at the community sites. That building, the sub for the community sites was cut. There's no dedicated sub. So I do want to say that there have been times when our administrative assistant has had to sub in those programs. Like imagine, I can't think of a time at Lyseth when the school secretary would have to sub in a classroom. At Lyseth, I have the resources of a school-based social worker, and in some schools they have a spur-wing clinician that pre-K can access, and community-based sites don't have this. I also want to make the case for consistency with specials or United Arts or whatever every school calls them. If we're truly a pre-K to 12 district, we should have the same specials for all the grades. At Talbot, I had another pre-K classroom with whom I could collaborate and work closely with. At a school with only 1 pre-K at Lyseth, I'm without a peer group and a support system. And this is something I hope the boundary committee can address, or any other working group that can make the best use of space in the district. This year has made me realize how challenging it really is to be a standalone site. I urge the school board to communicate a plan to the pre-K team regarding a hiring of a new director. I also urge the committee to address the responsibilities of the school principal versus the responsibilities of the pre-K director, knowing that the pre-K director position is truly untenable without the delineation of responsibilities. It's untenable in the sense that there's pre-Ks in almost every school in the city, and there's so many community collaborations, and to have one person that's essentially a principal but is not on site, it's a grueling job.
Christine, would you like 30 more seconds?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, maybe I'll do my best. I also urge the committee to look at the need for a pre-K curriculum coach. The committee should consider the fact that when new teachers are hired in pre-K, they receive no curriculum training or coaching. They do receive a mentor, however, but the training for the curriculum should not fall solely on the mentor-mentee relationship. All other grades receive ongoing coaching and training, but this doesn't happen in pre-K. Coaching ensures accountability, fidelity, and rigor, and something I'm sure that the district wants to ensure for outcomes and accountability to taxpayers. I also just want to say that the pre-K program serves about 250 children. We're about the size of some elementary schools in the district, and I would love the pre-K to see the same resources. Pre-K, of course, is the most crucial program for school readiness. And so anyway, that's all I want to say. I hope I didn't run over, but please contact me or 3 of the members that I've spoken with if you have any more information or need any more information.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, and I'm going to move us into the report of the secretary now. So we have the consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2024. Are there any corrections to the meeting minutes from December 3rd, 2024? Double check on Zoom. Okay, I see none. So if there are no corrections, then the minutes are approved as distributed. Next up, we have our new business, which is our first read of proposed naming of Ocean Avenue Elementary Library to Megan Mellor, Trulaske, Miers. Do you want to speak to this, Andy?
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to give brief context to this. Megan Miers was a Portland Public Schools parent who passed away from cancer last April. She was a very active volunteer at Ocean Ave Elementary School, volunteering in their coat closet, in her students' classrooms, in all manner, and also an activist throughout our community around solar energy, organic farming, the arts. She was the anonymous donor who gave $250,000 to music and the arts a couple of years ago. After her death, her husband said, "I'm ready to tell her story now." And her family, in her honor, has made a 5-year pledge to support the teacher grants program throughout the district. They don't want the amount of that publicized, but it is a very generous pledge. And in my discussions with them, we're hoping to have some kind of permanent way to honor her memory, and that she was so passionate about the Portland Public Schools. So I did speak with Principal Stevens at Ocean Ave, who loves the idea of naming the library at Ocean Ave the Megan Mellor Trulaske Miers Library. And so Superintendent Scallon recommended we started by bringing that to the Public Affairs Committee. That was discussed twice at the Public Affairs Committee, and that group is in favor of bringing that forward to the school board. And that's the brief background. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I would just note that in the committee, the other thing that was discussed within that is the policy that we have around naming things is very directed towards naming whole buildings, and there isn't a spelled out policy about a room in a building or a road around a building or anything like that. And so the committee did say that it would be great after we go through this process to then take up that policy and make changes so it's a little bit clearer for folks in the future. And that's something Board Member Nora and I have been in contact about moving that forward after this vote goes through. Beautiful. Any other questions? Yeah, Board Member Ali.
Hi. So, is there any place I could read about Megan Mellor, and what she's done for the Portland Public Schools?
Yeah, I mean, the foundation put out a press release, and I'm happy I can just email that to you when we're done to the board. I don't know that there's like a website about her or anything, but I'm happy to share. It was a press release we wrote based on the gift in her honor that was approved by her family. Yeah. I
appreciate it. And it's not that I'm looking at it as she doesn't deserve it. She most likely probably does. It's just that I'm also thinking about other donors and other people that's put in a lot of work towards Portland Public Schools and trying to see if that would sometimes it could be like, that weird feeling. But I would love to read upon her and then take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send it to the whole school board when I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Any other questions from the board? So we will bring this back up for a second read and a vote in January, the first meeting of the year, which is escaping me the actual date. And for folks that are new to the board, a first read is when we ask questions and get more information as a board. And a second read, we can still ask questions, and that's also when we would bring any amendments. It's January 7th. Thank you, Superintendent. That's when we would bring any amendments to to the item that's coming up for a vote, and then we also take a vote on the day of the second read. Beautiful. So I'm going to move us on to personnel now. So we have a couple of different personnel items, which is great. Here comes Jennifer Slabing. We have up first consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed for election of teacher candidates probationary. Would you like to speak to this motion?
Just pretty quickly tonight, we just have one candidate that we're asking for board approval for today.
All right. So do I have a motion for the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, the election of teacher candidates probationary? I'll take Board Member Bryden, second, Board Member Opperman. Are there any questions from the board? And usually when we take a vote, we also open it up to public comment, but in the case of personnel, we don't do that. So if there are no questions or discussion, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, election of teacher candidates probationary.
Member Ali?
Yes.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Student Representative Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Student Representative Kantiba?
Yes.
Student Representative Lee?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Student Representative Ziegler?
Yes.
Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the vote passes not anonymously, unanimously, with the students voting with the board. And up next, we have consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, election of teacher candidates, one-year only candidates.
And likewise, just one year only candidate tonight.
Perfect. So do I have a motion for the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, election of teacher candidates? Board Member Noor, is there a second? Vice Chair Bondo, any questions from the board? Okay, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve the personnel items listed, election of teacher candidates, 1 year only.
Member Ali?
In favor.
Member Yusra Ali?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Lena?
Yes.
Member Noor?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Student Representative Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Student Representative Kantiba?
Yes.
Student Representative Lee?
Yes.
Student Representative O'Brien?
Yes.
Student Representative Ziegler?
Yes.
Chair Lentz?
Yes, so the vote passes unanimously with the students voting with the board. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, board and student representatives. That was like we know what we're doing up here. This is good. I appreciate it. So next we're going to go into executive session. Students, you are welcome to leave at that point. We will come back for a workshop, which you're welcome to stay for, but also I recognize it's a school night, so you can choose whether to stay or go. But to move into that executive session, I'll be looking for a motion for the consideration and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 40560 to discuss a personnel matter. Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Board Member Noor. I'm going to get you next time, Ali. All those in favor? Okay, we'll move into executive session, and this is just board members in the room to the back.